Recording in progress.
So once your foam plate, the shadows are nice and smooth, you've got texture where the highlights are. You'll see newsprint paper right by the flowers over here. You want to use this to protect your table, and you're going to start inking up your plate. You'll find these foam trays on the cart. Actually, everything you'll need is on the cart, the sticks and the block printing ink that will not come out of your clothes. I want to take a nice big glob, but not so much. If I take too much, I'm just going to push it at the top of my tray here if I rotate it like this. And the goal now is to use a brayer, and I want to cover the entire brayer all the way around with a nice even coat of ink. So if I could have everyone's attention, just watch the board for a quick moment. I'm going to roll the brayer over the ink, pulling it in this way. And right now, I don't know, you guys can't see, you can see this part is shiny, this is matte. So I need to get this whole thing coated nice and even. So I'm gonna roll it in this direction. Notice I'm rolling it and picking it up. I'm going in one direction. I'm not going back and forth like this, because if I do that, I'm only going to coat one part of the brayer, that area, versus the entire area. And I can see by looking at this, it's a lot thicker here than it is there. So inking the brayer properly is one of the harder things. Sometimes this ink gets really dry, so I might add a drop of water. This actually sounds really good. You hear that kind of Velcro noise? That's the sound that you want. So now I have my newsprint paper down to protect the table, because this can get really messy. You guys over at the computer can watch. This is important here. I'm going to roll this in one direction, and you can see the areas that are raised are now black, and go over here. Now I'm going to go back and add a little bit more ink to my brayer, again, rolling away from me and picking it up, not going back and forth. And now I'll go in the other direction. And notice I'm definitely going to get this ink on my hands, which is fine. But you can already see now, after I've inked it up, all the red areas is not getting ink on it. So that's how I'm creating my highlights. Now there's test print paper in the bin. That's the smaller paper. So I'm just going to lay this on top. You can use your hand to rub it, which is what we did last year. You can use the brayer, which will typically give you a more even print. The only problem is you don't want to press too hard, because this is foam and you don't want to ruin your design by flattening this, because you're going to be printing this plate a lot. So watch what happens when I peel this away. I'm going to peel it at the corner all the way back, and I'm getting a mirror image print of this here. So this is not a perfect print, because the black shadow area has some white paper showing through. That's because the ink is a little bit thick or dried out. So what I'll do is I'll just get a little drop of water on the foam. I don't know if you saw that. And I promise you, just that little baby drop is enough to thin out the ink that I have. If you start to run out of ink, you can add more ink to your tray, but you just don't want too much. You don't want it to glob. So I'm just going to go over this again, get more ink, do this again. So what you're trying to do is to get a perfect print. Now, what I want to do though, is the thing I don't like at the print, look up here, look up here. This area up here does not separate. I see a line. This is my table. This is a background. So after I do, I'm going to do another test print. Before I go to my final print, which is on bigger paper, I want to wash my foam plate, dry it with a paper towel, and then go back in with the red pen and add that highlight detail. So this print is lighter than this one. So I'm going to have to go back, but now it doesn't matter. I just wanted to see if I could ink this a little bit better. Let me pause this for a moment. So if I need to go back into my plate, which I do, I'm going to under the sink, I'm going to run this under the sink and just wash with a paper towel all of the ink, or as much of the ink, off as I can. If there's still some ink on there, it's not a big deal. All you're going to do is just take a dry paper towel and wipe that off. And notice I'm using a clean piece of newsprint. And then I just wipe this with a dry paper towel. So now I can go in with my red pen and start to add some more of that detail, so that I have separation between my table and the background. So this needs to be white. I'm going to go back in there with the white. So that's my plate. When you're done printing, and we're going to start cleaning up early at the end of the day, running under the water. I'm just doing this because of the demo with the bucket. You're going to take a paper towel and make sure you get the edges here as well as the entire brayer. Sometimes what I like to do is just kind of run this in the sink over a paper towel in the sink. Just make sure the paper towel goes in the garbage. And this way, as I'm rolling it, it's going all the way around. And then I can kind of do that. As long as there's not ink globbed on there or drying on there, you're fine. A tray like this will be above the sink. I'm going to put that in there and that will dry later. And that's pretty much all you have to do. The trays, you can just rinse this under the sink. Again, taking the paper towel. I'm not so concerned. I'm not going to eat off of this, so it doesn't need to be spotless. What I don't want is ink being globbing in the sink. So if you have too much ink, wipe it with a paper towel, throw it in the garbage, and then just make sure that this doesn't have like a ton of ink globbed on it. So it might look a little bit, let me just show you like this. Cleanup is almost more important than the actual project because I share this room with 3 other teachers. We don't want ink all over the place. So something like this is fine. You can stack this on top of the sink on the rack, and that is it. So do not throw any of your decent prints away. And I say decent because I know I'm not done. I know I'm going to continue to print. So these I'm going to put on a board and I'm going to put these on the drying rack so that these little pages don't fall through the cracks, because some of the drying racks there have big gaps. So if I could stack as many prints on here as possible, this ink dries really pretty quickly, but that's what you want to do.